Hi everyone, this is Markku from Growth Mindset Builder on YouTube, and I wanted to share a couple of thoughts. I made a video in Finnish talking about how I use different AIs in my work. And one of the questions was that why do you always combine life skills and you talk about resilience, adaptability, creativity, systemic thinking, etc. when you talk about AI? Well, the reason is that actually these are the skills we're going to be needing moving forward. You already need them right now, but they're going to be more and more critical. Just look at the Future of Jobs report, or just Google it, or use your favorite AI to talk about what skills will be relevant. For example, in the 2030s, it's going to be about resilience, empathy, adaptability, emotional skills, collaboration, but also systemic thinking. We have to really be able to understand how complex systems work. And in order for you to be able to communicate and collaborate with different AI tools, we need to understand what our human intelligence elements are, what are we really good at, and then we have to understand how different AIs, multiple AIs can help. And this is where I come to kind of like my own philosophy. I'm very agnostic when it comes to which large language model do you prefer? Well, I use on a daily basis, I use a lot of Claude, I use a lot of OpenAI LLMs through different APIs. I use Gemini, I use Perplexity. I also like to work with Grok sometimes. It doesn't matter because at the end of the day, it depends on what you're doing. And I think that for us humans, we need to understand the differences. And even though I'm really excited, for example, about the new GPT-5, I have a couple of words about it, I would still say that we have to make the decisions. We have to be in control. And that's why I put all of my work inside my Obsidian Vault. So I've integrated Obsidian, which is a second brain. You can just Google it, obsidian.md. And I integrate all of my AI tools to this one tool. And it basically enables me to do whatever I want in one view. Of course, I might go to Canva or other visual tools, HeyGen for avatars, but when it comes to my text editing or content creation, I do everything inside Obsidian, and actually it is a life changer. Organized in vaults, for example, in my current vault I have about 9,000 notes. They're all interlinked, and when I talk with AIs, it basically creates that and uses that as a context. Especially I can select which notes to use in certain discussions, and it gives me really powerful answers. So what you're seeing on the screen is something what I do on a daily basis. And to be honest, I love Claude, I love Gemini, I love all of the OpenAI models, but the main point is that I make the decisions on which model I use on a specific task. And believe it or not, even the old models in many cases are good if you know what you're doing. I repeat, even GPT-3.5 Turbo is a great tool if you know what you're doing. And the more and more you start to design, instead of prompting, you start to create, for example, automated processes or text processing patterns, the better the understanding of different language models is, and the more important it will be in that case. Okay, about a few words about some commercial tools that I use. Manus AI is one of my favorites for just doing things that I don't like to do. For example, breaking down long documents into, for example, let's say you have to break a 200-page Word document into text files. Believe it or not, sometimes you do have to do that, or you have to just go through tons of stuff. Manus is great for that. And in that viewpoint, I see this tool in a way that I can put more focus on, for example, practicing my emotional skills, or just being curious or learning something new, maybe doing a little creative work. So the main point is that use the tools in a way that they will also enable you to do things more. But when it comes to my most used AI tool, I have to say the Claude Desktop, especially the Max version right now, has been my go-to AI tool. And this is not only because it's a great AI tool, but it can be integrated with MCP3 to any Obsidian Vault. And this has been for me really critical. So when I'm working with Obsidian, it already has hundreds of plugins that I use. But with Claude Desktop, I can directly communicate with my Obsidian Vaults. So basically, for example, I can edit, maintain documents from inside this nice desktop app. Integration is perfect. You can integrate different tools. I can just search for different tools, MCP3 servers, integrate them into the Claude Desktop, and after that, they work perfectly together with my Obsidian Vault. So this is really important. Because every MCP server has different tools, I can, for example, use Firecrawl to do some web crawling if needed, for example, for some research, etc. And it's easy then to basically continue from that inside my Obsidian, edit them, etc. Very powerful tool, and word of caution, you need to be really careful, especially when you're doing file operations. So deleting files, etc., it's a no-no if you don't know what you're doing, but I think that it's everyone's responsibility in a way to use AIs in a very accountable way. But that being said, one of my favorite new hobbies is actually working with Lovable. I have a lot of ideas. I work a lot with, for example, life skills framework development. I do a lot of consultation in complex topics. I've done that for plus almost 30 years. And the point is that I've seen a lot of software development, but now with Lovable, I can put my ideas into life. So what you're seeing, for example, here is that I've created some sites that are actually quite cool. They're going to be live soon, and of course I'm going to have professionals look at the code and do improvements even on the user interface, etc. But the main point is that I can play around with my ideas, my creativity, my knowledge, my data, and then I can play around and create working prototypes. I wouldn't go live with this site, even though it's functional, it works. But I think that this is a good way to prototype. For example, I'm building an app called Growth Mindset Builder. Why not do the back end with Lovable? And this is something where I think that I had about a year ago, I made a blueprint for this tool. Too slow. I have over 100 pages of documentation on how it will be working. This summer, I decided to spend a couple of days, a couple of hundred credits, and I'm already at this far. So this is quite cool. And I think that this is partially because for over a year now, I've been training also digital twins, AI twins, with the Prefina platform. And I've noticed that the more and more I start to think of AI not only as a colleague, but also as a representation of myself. Kind of like Markku AI it's not me, I understand that, but it behaves like me, it can answer like me on the specific topics that I have trained my AI. I'm starting to kind of like, in an odd way, start to think that maybe we're actually in some way integrated. But I have to develop especially, not the AI side of me, but the human intelligence side of me. And I think that there's a lot of work to be done in that. But hey, now I have to say a couple of words about the favorite new tool, which is ChatGPT-5. I installed it last night to my Obsidian Vault. Had to do some actually security check into all the way to OpenAI through that, but the first impressions are really good. So for example, what you're seeing on my screen is that I'm actually testing a couple of existing documents and asking ChatGPT-5 to create much more complex versions of them, and gave existing content from my vault, gave the context, gave the instructions, works perfectly. So this is going to be really interesting. I think that ChatGPT-5 in a way if I would be jumping into the AI bandwagon right now, most likely it would be a great tool for me. But because I've kind of like made the decision that I want to be in control, I want to select which model to use. I want to do AI-driven work, supported AI first, in a way that I still feel that I make the decisions. That's why I think that I will be using GPT-5 a lot, but most likely I'll stick to my current setup, Obsidian, Claude, Desktop, and multiple LLMs. Enjoy the day, and please subscribe. I'm going to be doing more content, especially in late August, September, and onwards from that. Do get in touch and go check out also Markku AI. You'll find it on LinkedIn or somewhere.